Okay. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, like, the videos are super technical, but it's it has to be, right? Because there's like so much specificity that needs to be represented when you're dealing with these things. So it's like it makes
Yeah.
sense, but it's also like I feel like I have to watch through them a lot more systematically than I am right now. Because like yeah, same as what you said. Like I'm kind of just like skimming through them at high speed
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
even skipping portions of the videos because I'm just like I just don't have time to pay attention at this level of detail. I kind of just am trying to brush over it at a high level first. But yeah, it's the logic stuff, the logic building and ontology modeling stuff that I is like super interesting to me. Like I really want to get super good at semantic web tools because I feel like it's really the key to like all of the web that we want to see basically. Like it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going beyond just statistical aggregation. It's putting, you know, reasoned logic into data.
Yeah, like you could even make decisions about the interface to display based on the semantics of the data. And that seems like kind of a trivial thing, but it's actually like really powerful. Like just imagine like a totally malleable interface that adapts to the data at play in the context at play. Like that to me is like super powerful.
Oh yeah. But it, interface is adaptive to the logic.
That's adaptive to the data because the data comes with semantics.
Right. Yeah. Well, not just like that you label persons and car and different things with like different icons or, but more than that.
Yeah, a lot more than that. Like for instance, like when he was talking about like being able to make like logical assertions about what's not included or what is included or whatever, there are certain maybe settings or features or functions or um, even entire categories of interface in the app that maybe wouldn't apply if you're dealing with a certain subset or a subclass of data. But then if you're dealing with a different subclass of data, you suddenly have a different kind of application. So it's almost like just an entirely like if you make a language kind of like a protocol for specifying the interface based on the semantics of the data, you can have an interface that is adaptive and flexible depending on the needs of what you're working with. And so not just the so like even like the data of what the application is or the context, right? Like for instance, if I'm trying to design a web application or something, or I'm like have you ever used Figma
I've
or
heard
heard of it?
about heard about it. Is it like a? Is it more than a wire storyboarding frame
Yeah,
wireframe software?
it's web design. It's like a web design canvas software for people to design stuff.
But
And it can
it's collaborative.
right, yeah. And so um, I'm just thinking like there's like all these tools all over the place, right? Because they try to design one canvas app that works for all people in all contexts,
Yeah.
which is an impossible problem. But if instead you allow people to import their data and convert it into RDF, then and you understand the context in which they're working in. Like maybe I'm like designing like a um, uh, I don't know, like a mobile application for a car dealership or something. This is a terrible example, but then depending on the context that I'm in and the data, and the semantics of the data, you can basically completely adapt the entire Canvas interface and the context of that interface, like what icons are available to select, or like what kinds of like helpful, sidebar tools are available to use or whatever, based on the context of the data that you're working in.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Possibilities are endless with that.
Yeah. I mean, that'd be.
Just
Yeah.
one thing that came to mind when I was watching the videos, that I was like, my mind was racing.
I wonder how that fit into like the wireframes that I did for a while, because like ISIP was meant to be like, first you have to have like all this underlying architecture to get the data kind of in the right place, and then you got semantics, and then you got applications and the visual thing, and like, but you're talking about like everything is like maybe in the context of the wireframes, it's just like you have certain applications that you have loaded in. They're like modules, or like plugins or whatever that come from like a big library, or however you get them in
Right.
there. But it's adapted to the semantics.
Yeah. Yeah, and one thing with like Pattern Journal, as I'm kind of continuing to kind of dial it in, but one of the things that was really early in my kind of ideas about it, what I want it to be, is something that basically, depending on the context of um, your prompt or something, right? Like depending on that, suggesting new prompts to further your research and everything, based on the semantics of what you're already prompting, um,
Oh,
and also based on the context that you're in. So like, yeah, if you're trying to make a wireframe for ISIP, then you send a prompt, and then it could suggest further prompts, like for instance, like maybe there's a certain like gap or something that you're not thinking about, and then people can like make these custom prompts, but also the ability to kind of like prompt based on the semantics, and the
right.
logic of the semantics and the gaps, and things like all the logic things he was talking about,
Yeah.
with like exclusions and conjunctions and all that kind of stuff, like using all of that to kind of develop super refined prompts for your context.
Prompts. You're talking about AI now, or what?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know if I'm making sense, but I know it's kind of abstract.
In the random of the reading group, I started a thread about like this decentralized AI agents. There was a Somewhere Protocols application with that, and there was a lot of
Uh,
interesting links. Somebody else joined, or what happened? Are you there?
yeah, I'm still here. I don't think anybody else joined.
That was weird. Yeah. So it was a bunch of links, and then Lawrence was talking about Shribbler, and that reminded me of Inga. Um,
Mm.
I I I like Inga better. Um, I think it's fits in better. Well, I forget why, but it's like a semantic social overlay.
Mm.
So not only do you have these ants putting around the pheromones, um, but you also have these overlays, and that's helps with the clustering. And somehow you have AI aggregating the data and helping you discover data in some way.
Mm.
Um, Now there's something we also didn't cover, where there was a thing back in the day where it doesn't use all the reasoning, but it's this thing called Power Aqua, and where basically you have an ontology index. So like
Mm.
TF-IDF, so term frequency and inverse document frequency. So normally
Mm.
that's how this search engines were working, but you also have an index of all the ontologies and like a linkages between them. And what was kind of cool, uh, what I thought about is it will use the semantic annotations to enhance your document retrieval, but
Mm.
the linkages between, but it also seemed to suggest that you could also use this not only to return documents but to return all ontologies and like data that
Right.
uses that ontology. And that's what I
Yeah.
what I found was kind of cool because you could do a natural language query and then get into the graph space and start browsing
Yeah.
around because the entry point, and I don't know how that differs from what this AI stuff is. That's the devil in the details sort of thing.
Hmm.
Um, hmm. But like,
No. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, I think for ISIP or other things, I think I'm gonna have to recycle into like a reading list that's like kind of touches on these interests in the thing, and then I still want to look at. I was talking to Paul Dost, and that's how to say his name, but I wanted to see, what does the Fission ecosystem have to offer. I originally said IPFS, but Paul said, well, just focus on Fission because I like IPVM, and what do you want from Holochain? And he was willing to look
Hmm.
at that. I think Brooklyn from the Fission community, uh, now defunct, I guess, but still from that community, and was willing to look at something. But it seemed like, well, we'll get something writing because originally I had this crazy idea. It was like, oh, maybe we could get them all in like a call like this and kind of throw around questions. But yeah, it probably was a good suggestion to kind of do write a paper and so and yeah, that might make things more speedy and productive once they show up. So,
Yeah. I think it's better to just do the work and send it out, um, instead of kind of trying to bring people together and see what happens. You know what I mean? Like as far as an approach.
yeah,
Um, that's what I'm trying to do. Like with this video series and everything, right? Like I want to build something that's really just simple to start, so that I can just get my feet wet with all this.
yeah,
And I mean, ultimately, like I like what you said about being able to query over, documents using annotations, and also query over, uh, any data really, like and ontologies. Like so, everything is in the same query space. Like ideally, that's what I would have for all of my data, right? Like all of my text messages, all of my my files on my laptop, on my phone, like everything. If I could just magically turn everything to have or generate, semantic metadata in RDF that's queryable, um, from one place, across all my data, that would be just incredibly useful. It's kind of like the dream that I had for Obsidian, but that just didn't live up because you really have to kind of hand roll all of these like ontologies yourself,
okay,
and it's awful. And it's not scalable because you have to rely on your brain's recall system, which is one of the you know things that our brain's not good at. And um, so yeah, like
so we
that
have
that's kind of like that. If that's the goal, right, to have that something like that, then maybe the first kind of thing is like, all right, like how do we convert, um, a certain piece of data into RDF with AI, like
yeah,
which yeah,
yeah. That's a big question. I should write that down.
I mean, I already know people who are doing that, so I know it's possible.
Okay.
But they're doing it with like tweets right now, um, and they're extracting tags and things, or like like creating tags like based on sentiment analysis and all of that for a given tweet, passing it kind of through one of these algorithms. I don't know, directly parsing it through an LLM or something like that, but I want to do that for every different format of data and also just open source all of that so anyone can do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it might be nice if it's totally automated, but I mean, I think in reality, it's going to be mostly automated with some corrective actions by the user.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree. Definitely. You have to have that. Total automation, that's Orwellian. I don't want to do that. You always need human review.
Yeah. So I don't know what to think. Are you still there? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm still here.
I'm not getting any more thoughts. I don't know.
That's all right.
We can end the call early, but I don't know. I guess I don't know. Maybe I should end the recording, and if we get back to it, then
Yeah, that
because I
works.
wanted to ask you about the webcam, and if you have the time,
Yeah, did you end the recording?
I'll stop it.